Previously on Billy Corgan's Adventures in Carnyland.
Bryan Idol was the greatest ticket seller that we had.
I don't work well with others.
So he had to go.
Our businesses, our interests are immersive in our lives, so there's really no separation.
Unfortunately, I'll do whatever needs to be done.
You're asking to be fired.
Well, we got wrestling and rock and roll. The World is a Vampire tour. Oh, give it to me.
They didn't come to watch no Smashing Pumpkins, they came to watch us.
It's either going to be a big success or it's going to be an absolute mistake.
We'd sound the faith, we'd sound the faith, smashing out the veils, we'd sound the faith, we'd sound the faith.
Are we live on Instagram? No, I'm just recording because Billy wants footage for the reality show.
The Pumpkins and a minibus chock full of NWA mayhem are heading to Tampa, Florida.
Just in the distance, stretching, looking jacked.
We are two very different people.
The wrestlers have no idea what's about to hit them because this venue is huge. The crowd even bigger than the last. And the weather forecast is certainly going to make things tricky.
I love that when Billy sees this, he's like, the camera's crooked.
But Tampa isn't just another city on the endless road of the endless road.
When I was 18 years old, I moved to St. Petersburg, which is just outside of Tampa, and I lived there for almost a year. So my first formative experiences on stage playing professionally with my own music was in that area, so I have deep ties to that area. And it's funny to me that eventually my father ended up living down there as well.
So for me, it's great to be back. But as for the wrestlers, despite having all their wants and needs met, accommodation, food, and of course pay, they are professional wrestlers after all. Already, there's some complaining.
So far, so good, except the weather and the heat and the driving and the exhaustion.
I like the Tampa theater. The Tampa theater. The Tampa theater.
We'll see what the rain brings. Might be a little muddy pool. We'll dig a hole out there and dip our feet.
We could really use some sandbags right now, and not just for the water. Resources are flowing out the door on this enterprise, and I'm trying to micromanage everything.
As is scheduled, ladies and gentlemen, you will be having wrestling in between each of the bands that are playing, weather permitting.
Combining rock and wrestling being a money-losing component of that endeavor. Why would I bother? It's a calling card for why the NWA has a future.
What do you want to do about times? Because we're already 8 minutes late, and I don't want to run over on the band. What time do you want us to be done?
6:29.
29? Okay.
6:30. If you hear the music start, just tell them to go home.
Okay.
Am I a control freak? Well, yes and no. There are some things I can control, and some I can't.
If you had the ability to control weather, you don't think that would go to your head when you feel like,
I fantasize about a lot of big stuff. Controlling the weather's not there. It's not in there.
you're gonna make a horrible supervillain when you're richer?
I'm not a supervillain.
One
I'm
day.
a supervillain. People who really know me are always like, you always play a heel, but you're actually a nice person.
I think it stopped.
It stopped. It stopped. No promo. So just the match. All right, let's do it.
Y'all are in the rain, all of us together, so you gotta be loud.
Leaving the wrestlers to what appears to be a captive audience, I'm told the Pumpkins are waiting on me for sound check. So I'll leave the rest to the pros. At least Jimmy understands the demands of my strange double life.
Yeah, it's not really my thing, you know? It's kind of Corgan's thing, and he loves it, and I mean, I'm happy to support it.
Jeff gets it.
I think it's completely new territory for a rock and roll tour.
James kind of does.
Wrestling is not really in my life.
No one in my life cares about professional wrestling. Not Chloe,
Wrestling, I don't have much feedback. Again, I don't watch TV.
not my friends, not the band, except Jack.
My name is Jack Bates, and I play bass for the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm probably the least known member of the band, so I get to be able to just walk around and take in the vibe at shows like this. I do like to go out front and watch the opening bands, watch the wrestling. They just make a day of it. definitely more fun, at least from my perspective, when the wrestlers are around. I like to watch the wrestling, but I also like to people watch. You know, there are wrestling fans here, but there will definitely be some people who are not into it. And it's actually nice to be out there watching it because you can see the moment when they get won over. And they go like, actually, I'm enjoying this. This is fun.
Already hundreds of eager fans are ringside, drawn to the excitement of physical matches like this one, featuring Thrillbilly in his element.
What a powerhouse! What a strength! Back in the Thrillbilly into the corner.
The aesthetics of having a wrestling ring set up with 30,000 people roughly at every show, it's a lot of eyes on the product, and that's a huge thing.
Being here and being around Billy and being around this company, because everyone has everyone's best interests at heart. If the NWA grows and keeps growing, everyone makes money.
We've had enormous success on the road with the World is a Vampire tour, and that's something nobody's really doing as an attraction.
Again, the power and the strength on display from Silas Mason.
We're not just a bunch of random people in spandex. We're a part of this dynamic of, I like this band. This is a part of that band extended family.
And some members of that extended family have fallen out. It may be raining, but here comes the heat.
When it comes to most of the people at the NWA, no, I don't think I was that popular. I think people are very fake, and I'm very real. And what I say, I mean, and I stand behind it. And I'm also not afraid to call something out.
Nobody expected to see Bryan Idol pop up out of nowhere, but voila.
What happens if this guy you put all your faith in, and it turns out it's all a lie?
And I don't think anybody's got the temerity to tell the 6'2" ball of self-confident muscle to go back to where he came from.
Bryan will screw up everything.
In Tampa, Florida, our opening acts have just left the stage. And now even more people are witnessing NWA wrestling action. And as for Joe and Kyle, they must wrestle with the fact that Bryan Idol is back.
God, this is supposed to be the best looking tag team that we have, not only in NWA, but maybe in the entire sport of professional wrestling.
He was ejected from the NWA because he's kind of dumb. Nobody wants him around.
Well, that's not entirely true. I like having him around, but I also appreciate that not everyone else does.
Even if it wasn't raining, with the amount of oil in this match, it was gonna get slippery anyway.
A lot of the information that swirled around Bryan and that I was told, which helped Bryan to be pushed to the edge of the company, I'm not sure that information was accurate.
Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but originally I was supposed to be in charge of this tour. The knives are out right there.
Now, speaking of Bryan, Tampa is where he lives. And he even has his own wrestling company called Fight the World. And so he brought Bryan and some of his crew over to, well, fight.
When it comes to the promotional aspect of the NWA and Joe and Kyle being in charge of getting people through the door, I don't think they're even close to me as far as conceptually how to even make that happen.
Just leveling Tom Latimer and Henry Julian.
So Billy's coming from a world with the Smashing Pumpkins where tickets move pretty quickly. Wrestling hasn't quite hit that same level. As far as Billy's expectations for our tickets, we're doing the best that we can. If we had someone that was very focused and solely was thinking about ticket sales, I think that would be really beneficial. And I just don't see Bryan Idol being able to handle those types of responsibilities.
But Bryan's boasts go beyond just throwing shade on Joe and Kyle's inability to consistently sell tickets. He has even bigger plans. Because remember, the National Wrestling Alliance was a confederation of wrestling companies across the states until everything began to fragment in the 80s. But Bryan Idol, so he keeps telling me, he's convinced he can bring it all back.
I can help save this whole thing, man, 1,000%. I want to have my company, Fight the World Wrestling, be one of the territories. It should be based on results. I've been running that wrestling company for 17 years. So if you're looking for a territory, the first thing you should be looking for is one that's gonna last. If you say you want to win, like then I'm a winner. I can tell you right now. I got the credentials to back it up.
I have no problem with Bryan existing, much less being in the NWA. I have a problem with Bryan trying to undermine everything and claim that he is the greatest thing that ever happened, and if we were just following his lead, everything would be for the better. That's great. It's delusional, but that's great.
Well, I have a feeling Kyle's not going to approve of what I've got planned for later tonight. But Kyle's no dancer, which is why Bryan and Markova will be in Pumpkinworld tonight, too. Something they have prior experience with, thanks to the Beguiled music video we shot back in September of 2022. And if you think putting on a wrestling show is challenging,
the video for Beguiled was epic.
It was a wild video. We shot it live on TikTok.
One take only.
Billy just wanted it to be a cast of characters just walking through this runway.
So it oddly ended up being about my life. Chloe's in the video, the kids are in the video, there's wrestlers in the video.
I mean, I'm there. Everything we do with Smashing Pumpkins is just fun. I have all the best times.
with Bryan and Markova here and Beguiled being performed on stage tonight, it's tradition to bring them out and expose the Smashing Pumpkins fans to even more NWA wrestling.
She just slaps you. When you realize you're cooked, hey, I just came to dance, I didn't want any problems, you get home. I told you, stay away from me, don't come near me.
I totally love that Billy's mixing the Pumpkins with wrestling on stage. Not only does he get to share that with the world, but I get to participate in it. So, of course, I think it's amazing.
There's 3 people here, 2 are adults and 1 isn't. We'll let you do the math on the rest.
10,000 strong have come to see the World is a Vampire tour in Tampa, Florida. What they haven't come to see is NWA wrestling. But when you think about it, rock and roll and wrestling, they make good bedfellows.
Like, I mean, it fits. The music, the vibe, the energy, everything goes hand in hand.
There's so many people that like wrestling, where we've lost them because we've become so ingrained within what we're creating for the strictly wrestling fan. Any opportunity to go beyond our small niche and branch out and create new fans is an excellent opportunity.
Oh, he's caught! He's caught the ropes!
I think the crowd really got into it. If I could get 2% of them to like just subscribe to the YouTube channel or buy the pay-per-view, it's a huge success. People don't realize they like wrestling. And then when they're kind of put in a position where like, I might as well watch it, then they love it.
Obviously, it's 2 things Billy loves with all his heart. You know, when you think of the Pumpkins as a band, they've always done some kind of circusy stuff in their act anyway.
It's loud, it's obnoxious, it's in your face. Brings emotions out. So rock and roll, you hear a great song, you hear something, you hear it, you know, you just feel it, and then you watch a match and you know, you just feel these people in the ring.
With the wrestlers on a high after earning their keep tonight, I'm definitely feeding off the energy. And as the NWA goes, so go I.
We used to say in the Pumpkins, we are not up here to have fun. We are up here to crush your skull with music. My interest in performing is creating a space where only that thing that happens in that space can happen with those people in that moment. It's a form of magic.
My love of performing on stage was born in Tampa, St. Pete in 1985. Being so poor, I was sleeping on floors, wondering if I would ever get anywhere in life. And here we are almost 40 years later, with the one big dream that's come true. And a new dream I am working so hard to make come true. as I dedicate this next song, to everyone here. But tonight, I'd like to add my daddy to that pile. He chose to spend the last years of his life right here in Tampa.
He loved the gators and the humidity. He lived a full life, though.
So to you and to my daddy, we dedicate this song. It is called Tonight, Tonight.
Billy's father was a musician, and he was good, but he was not a good father to Billy. But when Billy started focusing on music and taking it seriously, that was a way Billy hoped that would form a connection with his father and that his father would actually give him any sort of praise. But he was proud of Billy and his career, and he shared it in the way that he could. I think that meant a lot to Billy.
NWA wrestling may be done for the night, but for 3 carefully chosen wrestlers, I'm about to give them an audience that most could only dream of. Because I'm bringing them out as we play our hit song, Beguiled. Joining me on stage will be Bryan Idol, Natalia Markova, and a recent signing from a few weeks ago when we were in Highland Park.
Ruthie just signed a deal. Very happy about that.
Ruthie J doesn't have the same profile as Bryan and Markova, but being on stage with the Pumpkins is certainly one way to raise it.
My name is Ruthie J. I'm from Haiti, and I'm also half Dominican. The first things I remember watching when I came to the States was wrestling. You didn't have to speak the language to understand good guy, bad guy, yay, boo. And I told myself, before I turn 20 years old, I have to start training. And I did that at 19.
Oh, into the Meteora! Ruthie J quicker than a hiccup. The DDT!
You have to love it first because you're putting your body at risk for no money when you first start. And it's like you have to love it or you're just crazy. I wasn't gonna say no to being on stage with the Smashing Pumpkins. I didn't think he was serious until like everybody was nodding along like, yeah, we should. So I quickly got changed. I went over the spot with Natalia and Bryan.
You go out, I come out. Get out of here, you're out of here. You don't like it, she comes. Bang, right?
Most of those people didn't know who we were. They didn't know about NWA. And then once they watched it, they loved it.
The most people I've ever wrestled in front of was probably like 800 people. It was like being a rock star up there.
Crowd reaction there was like we were on an actual wrestling show, just because they felt the connection.
Natalia and myself were kind of actually worried, like, how they would receive it. Because you take a guy like James Iha, I mean, that's a legendary guitar player. I don't know if that was exactly his cup of tea, and here I am taking wrestling moves right next to him, almost landing on his guitar pedals.
I just love the idea that people who never seen wrestling before, then they come to me after and they're like, oh my God, I never seen wrestling live and it's so awesome.
She did a cutter. She jumps in the air and grabs a person underneath her arm. She lands on her back. And the audience exploded.
Jack starts beating me up on stage. It's obviously like one of the most fun things that I get to do with my life.
And I think that's another magic of Billy being in charge of the wrestling company, that any other promoter can do that. Nobody can just be like, hey, I'm a big star, I can actually sell out arenas just by myself, and then I can introduce wrestling to those people. That's unique. I think it's like changing the whole business overall, because that's where we can show it to new crowds.
It was surreal. No, that was fun. Thank you guys.
Oh, thank you. That was really good job, too.
You did great.
I was just feeling the beat dancing with her.
I know.
Another thing that's great about NWA, it's not just about wrestling, it's about stories. It's about people's emotions and personalities. I think that's what makes it special, too.
What we're creating is really unique. Unique qualities in entertainment are the most valuable, but they're hardest to achieve. The NWA is positively going in the right direction. but not in the empirical numbers that people would look at to indicate success.
One of the hardest things about doing the Worlds of Vampire and touring with Smashing Pumpkins is being in front of that massive crowd in an arena, being like, man, if only these people were at a wrestling show. People like ice cream. They all like different flavors. I just want people to want us as ice cream.
Well, dessert analogies aside, here's the scoop. Wrestling never sleeps. Neither, it seems, do I. The Smashing Pumpkins are standing down as I head to St. Louis for an event that might just be the most consequential in the entire history of the NWA.
75 years, the big one, 75th anniversary. It's about as big as it gets.
There's like goose pimples going up your arm, the quiver, shiver, and shakes.
Some epic showdowns are in store.
Sick of wrestling, Natalia. It's time to go to war.
Pain doesn't scare me.
Holy shit, man.
It's our annual pay-per-view tradition. This is where everything will culminate.
And the performances and the audiences need to be monumental.
Fresh ideas.
A total free-for-all.
Fresh faces.
Oh, there it goes! No. Straight into the face!
Fresh stories.
A date with destiny with either Camille or Natalia Markova.
Fresh drama.
It's a brutal fucking business, you know what I mean?
In 1 week, I become the NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
See you out there.